Welcome to the Clear Cut Chronicles podcast with your hosts, Matt Anderson and Tyler Nicola. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Clear Cut Chronicles podcast with your host, Matt Anderson here and Tyler Nicola. It's been a minute. It's been almost over 2 months, I think, now since we've had our last podcast that we've talked about anything really on here. So a lot of life has happened. So Tyler and I are going to hop on tonight and just chat with you guys about things that's been going on just with us in the last few months. We've had a lot going on and just chat about some summer plans, things that we have coming down the pipe here as far as hunting and fishing endeavors go, and kind of what's next for us going forward towards fall. So, without further ado, Tyler, how's it been?
Oh man, I've been doing good. Really, really busy, but things are going well for me. So I'm on the up here after recovering from ankle surgery in December. It just feels like starting to getting some momentum, getting projects done, spending a lot of time with my kids and family. But yeah, ultimately doing real well.
Yeah, good. I know you guys have had a couple like weekend trips you guys have done. Did one a couple was it a couple weekends going out of Door County with a
Yeah,
group of people?
yeah, that was a really good time. If you haven't been to Door County, I highly recommend it. I really didn't think it would be my jam, but it was a lot of fun bars, a lot of places to eat, obviously, and good drinks, good food, and a lot of scenic places to visit. I mean, it was really cool. I'm happy I went, and I'll definitely be going back.
Did the kids enjoy it? Seems like there's a lot to do there. Yeah.
We were constantly somewhere, with them being so little, they got tired at times, which, can be hard to navigate when you have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, but ultimately they had a blast. So I was,
Yeah.
I was happy to do it.
Yeah, I've never actually gone up into Door County. I mean, I've done Green Bay a few times and stuff like that, but I have a bachelor party in August that is over that way, so we'll be getting probably to do some things over there in a different capacity than your trip, but
Brooke and
it'll
I
be
did
fun.
get to go out one night. We had two couples on the trip, and they have the couple we were with also has two kids. So we each did a adult evening where we took the kids and that couple went and vice versa. And yeah, so we got to have some of the fun that I'm assuming you're talking about. But side note on Door County, surprising amount of deer. And there I was, guilty of looking at Onyx sightseeing. I was like, man, this might have some potential. So I'd be curious. I don't know if I'll ever actually do it, but I'd definitely be curious to go over there during hunting season and see what the pressure's like. But I think you definitely get it done over there.
Yeah, it's so funny you say that. So this today's Thursday. We're going in for everyone. This podcast will drop, I think, next week here in late June. But we're going into Father's Day weekend, and we're headed up to Duluth this weekend for Grandma's Marathon. My wife ran it last year. She ran the marathon, and then this year's, I think it's the 50th anniversary, and her and a bunch of friends and her sister are doing the half, and then one's doing the full. And then her cabin is like an hour and 45 northwest of there. So it's probably 40 minutes north of Grand Rapids for everyone that kind of knows Minnesota. But we were talking about the cabin this weekend. We'll be there this weekend, and then we'll be there over the 4th for 4 or 5 nights. And I've kind of put the bug in her ear a little bit to do one more trip again in the fall. And she has a women's golf league on Thursday nights. And so as she was leaving, I was like, Madeline, just so we're clear, I am planning if we go in the fall to bring my bow up and do some bow hunting because you were talking about the Door County and Onyx. I have spots pinned. Her cabin butts up to it's the George Washington State Forest, and then there's also tax forfeited land plus the Chippewa National Forest. So it's like you literally walk across the street and you can go 20 miles maybe to the
Sure.
west, and there's barely any private, and it's just lakes and wilderness. And so I have a couple pins set in the Chippewa right now, the Chippewa National Forest that I might when we're there Sunday, so we'll be there Saturday night late, and then we're there Sunday, and we'll come back Monday. I have a couple pins, and I might slide out while Madeline and her sister are sleeping, still recovering from the marathon. I might slide out and do some scouting, and I may drop a camera. We'll see. So, but yeah, always you always have to take advantage with what you got going for you. And I don't have kids yet, but I have thought that that would be a convenient thing when I do have young kids is, hey, let's pack the kids up. Let's go up to the cabin in October and I'll hunt a couple weekend or, a couple nights. But that means, no one has to watch the kids. They'll just be with Madeline and I can sneak out for a couple more evenings. So I'm always thinking like a bow hunter, that's for sure.
Yep.
But no, it's been good. It's been super busy for us. We took a trip to Germany early May, which was awesome for anyone that's never been. I would highly recommend. It was a
I
ton
have,
of fun.
I have to ask, did you drop any pins in Germany?
I didn't, but I do have, let's see, I now have an Onyx track mapped in Italy and in Germany. So
Oh,
I do have a loop because when we were there, one of the days, so we did Munich for a couple days, and then we were in, I'm gonna butcher it. I think it's called Fusen, which
oh,
is right on the Austrian German border. So it'd be like the southeast border in the Alps. And we did like a 20-mile bike loop around these like mountain lakes and you could see like the Alps. It was gorgeous, but hit the start the track on X on that one. So I do have that. And then we were in Nuremberg for 2 nights and then we finished in Berlin for 2 days. So a lot of medieval culture over there. Obviously, a lot of World War II history. We did Dachau, the concentration camp, and then we also did a lot of we did a beer tour. I think we tried like 30 different kinds of beer, which was awesome. German beers.
yeah.
I'll never drink another beer in the States, like a Coors or a Miller or anything, and just be like, this isn't even. It's like wine in Italy. I'm not a wine guy, but over there, I even like the wine. So it
I'm
was
jealous.
good.
That sounds awesome. I've never traveled out of the country. I need to get my passport and just take a trip. But
Yeah.
you were also somewhere else recently, weren't you? Catching fish this time, right?
Yeah, yeah. So it was kind of crazy. My bud, one of my buddies from college, we've been talking about doing this Canada fishing trip for probably 9 years now.
Sure.
Well, it's his dad and one of his buddies. They always go up the first week of June. They're teachers, and so they would always go like right as school after school got out. They would go up to a place called Signet Lake. It's about an hour and a half north of the very northern part of Lake of the Woods. So it's about 2 hours into Ontario, and I think it's a 3,500 acre lake. So sizable lake, but like if you look at a map of Ontario, it's just another puddle. Like it's big enough. I think from north to south is about 7 miles, but known for not a ton of giant walleye. Like I
Right.
would just go to Lake of the Woods or some of these other bigger bodies of water if you wanted giant fish, but a lot of walleye. So up there, your daily possession limit was 2 walleye, and then you could have bag limit. I think was 2 walleye is how you say it, and then possession limit was 4.
Okay.
So we would everyone in our boat would catch their limit, and it was you could technically keep 1/18, but the people running the resort were like, you technically can, and if you're struggling to find, keep one, but we encourage everything under 18
Right.
just to keep the breeders. Yeah. And we didn't have an issue with that, but we were catching a ton of fish. Like I said, we didn't catch any giants, but we caught 45, 50 fish between 17 and 19 inches. So, I mean, we did really well on and I should say if you expand that to like we really did well probably from like 16 inches to 22 inches. We just hammered them. So, it wasn't like nonstop, but it was one every 5, 10 minutes. We were getting them steady all 3 days that we were up there. And then it'll be fun next year. I think I for those listening, I've just started to get a little bit more into fly fishing in the last couple of years. So I brought one of my bigger fly rods up there because I know that they had a lot of pike, and I got snapped off by some pretty nice pike. And so I need to get there's a specific like a wire leader, but for fly fishing that I'm gonna grab for next year. But that was fun. Midday, these pike come up into these bays that time of the year in these weedy shorelines. And I mean, there's so many pike in this lake, and really any of those northern shield lakes like that, those Canadian style lakes and stuff. And so I was having these pike come up and chase a 6, 7 inch fly. So that was a ton of fun. So I think I don't know what I'm more excited about. We're gonna go. I'm pretty sure we'll go again next year. I don't know what I'm more excited about is get eating all the walleye and catching a bunch of them. But either that or going after some of the big pike midday. So
Right.
and up there, up yeah, up there. I mean, it wasn't. It was dark at like just after 10 is when sunset was. So
Sure.
we would fish yeah, yeah, and I don't know if it's because 'cause we're just a little further north, but we would fish from we'd get up usually because we were up so late the night before, we would get up around, like, 6:37, somewhere in there, get out on the water around 7:30, and we would fish from about 7:30 until noon, and then we'd come back, have some sandwiches, maybe take a nap, play some cards, just BS, maybe, um, just relax, mix up a cocktail or something like that. And then we would wait until about 5. And we might either have an early dinner or just like a snack before we went out. And then we would fish from like 5:30 until, yeah, like 10:30. We would be pulling up and we'd flay all our fish and then have a fish fry every night. We were eating dinner at like 11:30
Yeah.
and getting to bed and doing it again. So it was fun. We did, I think it was 4 full days or 3 full days but 3.5 days of fishing and then a travel day, which was just about right. So it's cool terrain up there. They had a pretty tough winter kill a couple of years ago for deer, but we were talking to the owners up there and we'd seen some pictures, and that's a trip I'd like to do. And those Ontario bucks are just massive. And for a guy who loves like wilderness settings and is drawn to like the true like deep woods wilderness type deer hunting,
I feel like that's
those chocolate those chocolate brown, like, I'm talking, like, just booners up there. So, I'd love to do that. That or, the bear hunting up there is pretty epic too. So,
right. Um, I've always been curious about a Canadian trip myself. I think you're required to have a guide, but I've heard rumors
I've
that
heard that.
it's like you kind of have a guide, but it's more like a sponsor that's like responsible for you as you go up.
Yeah, and that's what I asked our resort, and that's kinda what they said too, is like
What is it called?
because
Public is called like the Crown Land or Crown Lands or something.
the Queensland
Oh,
Queensland.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so but yeah, that's what I've heard too is this, like, you go through somebody, but, like, some of them are, like, more, like, hands-on, like, if you want a legit guide, and other ones are, like, you're staying at this resort, but you're kinda hunting on your own because you want to type thing. So, I'm sure there's plenty of people up there that'll take your money to stay at a cabin, you
Yeah, I'm sure
know?
anything you want, it's just what you want for, right?
Yeah. So, I'd love to do an early season trip up there where you could catch, like, a fall walleye bite for a couple days and then get in the woods and chase some whitetail. I think
Right.
that would be
I've also
pretty
thought of
sick.
going to one of those resorts and doing like I think they have like spring black bear where you
Yeah,
can go
they do. Yeah.
shoot a bear and it's really not that expensive. I think I was looking
No,
at
our
3 grand and you could come home with a bear and your possession limit of walleyes and go catch a bunch of walleyes and eat a bunch of walleyes and do like a week trip. And it's like, man,
yeah.
doesn't sound that
Yeah,
bad at all.
it's no, it's especially if you look at, like, the prices of stuff that's going on out west and stuff for, like, Western game and even, like, down south if you're gonna do some, like, outfitted stuff. Because my dad got this, like, huge idea that he wants to do an outfitted fitted thing and shoot a real nice one.
Sure.
And we were looking at different spots, and I was like, "Dad, let's go north." I mean, for just my fishing trip this 2 weekends ago, with
Mhm.
gas and food that I brought up there, the whole thing cost me $650.
Dang, dude. So interesting story because you're talking about Canada and my boss has been gone this whole week and we jumped on a meeting today and not only did he drive along, I can't remember, I couldn't tell you where he went exactly. He drove in, right? They drove a long ways to get to where they had to go, and they flew in. One of those little push planes or one of these small.
You're saying he's in Canada right now?
He was in Canada. He was back today.
Sure, sure.
With flying in to this resort somewhere where they had to fly in, it was like he said it was $1,400 with the fly in. It's like, man, that's not that bad. I mean, obviously yours is cheaper, but they caught oodles of fish too, and it's just I
Yeah.
really need
I
to
would
do it.
like to I turn 30 next year, and I wouldn't hate doing a fly-in trip next year.
Are
So,
you inviting me to your birthday party right now?
I'm not inviting you to my
Oh,
birthday party next year.
okay.
Yeah, so no, I would love to do that. And just the other thing is too, like obviously I expected Canada to be kind of like the bush, like northern Minnesota, like I've done the Boundary Waters, kind of like northern Wisconsin, the UP, a lot of stuff that we talk about on here. But you get up by like the Lake of the Woods and you start driving north, it's actually pretty mountainous. There's a lot of areas that the glaciers didn't necessarily bulldoze over as much as they did down here. And that's where you get all these rocky lakes. And that's why the walleye fishing and the smallmouth is so good. And the pike is because they have all these rock boulder piles and stuff to be around and stuff. But it's like you get some of these like big rock. It kind of reminds me of the bluffs a little bit, like the bluff country in Wisconsin, Minnesota, like Driftless, Iowa stuff. But it was like pretty like rugged terrain, and I was like, this is like I could live in the bush, man. I mean, you're
Probably.
probably 100 miles away from like legit healthcare, but I could just sit there and catch walleye all day and go and try and find one of the big old swamp donkeys up there. But yeah, so that what's that?
Just cures all things anyway, so you don't need
Yeah,
med.
it does. It does. Yeah, we had a couple nights ago, and even though it wasn't fresh, man, it was good. So yeah, just got back from that trip, and you and I were talking a little bit off air about this. It's kind of hard this time of the year to be kind of focused in on deer a little bit, but here we are. It is June. June's actually coming to you got 2 weekends left in June, which is crazy to think about. Where you at, just as far as whitetail goes? Just give us an update on what are you starting to form some plans? I know you have some things
Yeah,
in the works potentially. Wink, wink.
yeah. I found a property, a public piece closer to home that I may have gave you more details than I'm gonna give on the podcast here that I'm excited about. So I definitely want to check that out. Being June, probably not gonna go scout it now. It's been really wet too, and the property
Have you
look.
got have you gotten out scouting at all in Wisconsin this year?
Unfortunately not. I think I said possibly last episode, like, oh, I'm gonna scout, I'm gonna go, and I
Yeah,
didn't.
yeah.
Kids are tough, man. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, props to the guys who are getting more in. Because I know there's guys out there who have kids and can make the best of their time, and they're still getting scouting in. So there's definitely guys utilizing their time better than I am. I had house projects, kids. My wife in the summer with her work is she's really busy. So a lot of times I'll get the kids in the evening and she won't be back until they're in bed. It's been tough. And then trying to maximize time with family together, especially now. I mean, and not necessarily doing this because I know I'm going to be hunting a lot in the fall or as much as time allows me to, but it, trying to get the family stuff in now.
Mhm.
So like I'm not paying my dues because I do like being with my family, but I'm trying to get the family time in now. So I don't feel as bad about being away in the fall. And like on the previous episodes, applied to Iowa, and I've been checking my phone, logging into the Iowa DNR page like 3 or 4 times a day, checking to see if the draw results are posted to see if I've gotten that tag. Now I have 5 preference points, and for the unit we applied to, 5 preference points should be plenty to draw. So I feel like we probably are in the 90th percentile of chances to draw. But I keep looking anyway, and despite all of that, there's a pretty good chance that as soon as the draw results come out, they're going to send me an email. But I'm just anxiously refreshing to see if they're posted yet, and they have not been. I thought I was going to find out this week. I guess it's Thursday today, so there's still a chance I could find out tomorrow, but did not. I think I texted you. I was anticipating finding out, but no. To answer your question, I did not get out scouting. I did. I know. Again, in one of the last episodes, I said we had a scouting weekend. My buddy Jake and I had a scouting weekend in Iowa planned, and that was going to be in April. I think I want to say like April
Same
18th.
week. I think the same weekend I was supposed to, or I was in Wisconsin, but
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
It was all gung ho. I mean, this had been on the calendar for like 3 months,
yeah.
and beautiful weather like the 2 weeks up to that. And then the weekend we were gonna go, it was like 30 or 40 mile per hour winds and like tornadoes and just storm weather. I texted Jake and I was like, we're gonna be in the truck the whole time. Like this would be kind of silly to go. It'd be a waste. Are we really gonna go march around in the woods with tornado warnings and 40 mile per hour gusts? Like I didn't know how much like value we could have out of conditions like that. So decided to not take the long drive there. So that was a super bummer. I think I talk to you about my potential plans. We might go. We might. I'm not married to this idea, but on paper it sounds like a good one. Jake and I might go hunt southwestern Wisconsin for opening weekend, and then jump across to the Iowa border, like jump across during the day, and then just throw darts at the board for southwestern Wisconsin for the evenings. We're hunting
Hmm.
open weekend, but we might spend 4 to 6 hours in Iowa poking around different spots, so we have some sort of insight because their season doesn't open till, well, it might open October 1st, but I don't know if that's only for non-res or if residents. That's for residents too.
I think it's non-res too, but I haven't
And this
applied for Iowa or anything.
anticipating that we're going to draw, which again, we have a pretty good chance, but we might have to come up with a plan B if we don't, because I always take a trip. I don't, if I don't draw, I'm not 100% certain where that will be, but I'll be taking a trip, probably to Iowa. So, but yeah, so that was a huge bummer. That's kind of our backup plan here to gather some intel in Iowa, is to maybe, who knows, maybe I get really lucky and can kill a solid buck in southwestern Wisconsin on opening weekend on accident, and then just really pour all my time into Iowa. That would
Hmm.
that would be pretty cool. Wishful thinking, but hey, I've gotten lucky before, so um,
Yeah.
yeah. So that, and then as far as Wisconsin goes, I missed out on my spring scouting with the craziness that life has brought me.
Which hasn't, I mean, not the first time, right? Like kind of the same situation as last year.
It's been since kids, it's kind of been
Yeah.
the thing, but they're
And I
getting.
don't, and I don't mean that in like a negative way. I'm saying like and tell me if I'm wrong. I think you're always kind of a guy that's strived with like the in season scouting thing,
Yeah,
for different reasons.
yeah. I was actually thinking about this before the show, and I was like, the first nice buck, not the first nice one, like the second, first like public land buck that I killed, that really lit this flame for me. I did a lot of spring and summer scouting, and it ultimately, I saw the buck that I killed in the like July. I saw that buck, and plus I scouted in spring. So, like in my head, I was thinking like, man, this is like, it's so worth spring scouting, and it is. It is. You should if you can. But then I was thinking about it literally today. Um, like I've actually had much more success with in-season scouting as far as killing deer. So the reality is like scout as much as you can, whether it's in season or in spring. Like it's only gonna be good. Right? Like you can only come up with good
Right.
things from. So get intel. That's the bottom line, right?
Yeah. And you I mean, you just got to play the hand you're dealt, right? And I think you're near a lot of ground. I mean, what that is actionable for the quality of deer that you're seeking, I don't know, but you're near a lot of ground. I know in years past, like you have a great family support that lets you get out,
Right.
a couple times a week. You know what I mean? Even if it's to take your dog out to try and kick up a grouse, but you're still deer scouting. You know what I mean? So like, I think you're in contact with the woods a lot throughout the fall. Even more so than I am. And I scout, like I've scouted more spring scouting the last couple of years, but you're just kind of out there a lot. I mean, and if you wanted to go and shoot a 2-year-old deer, I think you could have done that last year. You could have done. It's all about kind of where your priorities and your goals are too. So I think like you have that going, and the knowledge is only going to continue to grow in the area that you have just recently moved to within the last couple of years.
Right.
So yeah, I mean,
And real quick too, before we kind of wrap up the scouting stuff, I have kind of a Hail Mary plan for preseason scouting, and it's good. It's good. So there's one area that I was hunting last year where there's plenty of agriculture. I wouldn't call it, you know, probably not the Northwoods. It's on the edge of what I consider the Northwoods. So I told Brooke
that
probably,
pseudo Northwoods stuff
yeah,
where it's like a
it's
lot of timber, but
yeah, there's plenty of ag, but you go a little bit north and, you're looking at trees for sure. But I told Brooke, I said, hey, like, what about for a date night? If we can find one of the sets of grandparents to watch the kids for the evening. We just took a drive, maybe say August, where you really start seeing these bucks develop. And we just go shining, glassing for deer, like how romantic on the back row. It's like a country song, really. So,
yeah, yeah. I mean, call it Luke Bryan.
I didn't really hype up the the shining and glassing so much. But I'll just take a drive, and maybe we'll see some deer, whatever. So I did say deer, so that was part of
Deer
the
was mentioned.
yeah. But yeah, so that's kind of my Hail Mary. I'd like to, even if it's just me, I do a little bit of that even early season if it's like if I can't get out, but oh, there's an hour left of daylight. Let's go see what's in fields near public. Because like I feel like that's such a huge thing. If I go in August and a field bordering public, I see an absolute hammer. Well, he'll probably be within a mile of there come opening day.
Yeah,
So
because our it's nice our season's open so early.
right. Oh, like look at the maps, look at where you think betting would be, and go. That's what I did last year. That was my opening day last year. Unsuccessful, unfortunately, but if you do it enough. If I do it enough, I'm sure I could hit on that. Ideally, it'd be nice to have intel, but it is what it is. Like boots on the
Yeah,
ground intel. But I mean, if you find a shooter, go get them if you can. Go
yeah.
get in the area, see if you can anticipate his bed just off of map scouting, looking at Onyx. Definitely know guys who have killed deer that way.
Mhm.
So that's the Hail Mary for preseason scouting. But other than that, probably going to be as far as boots on the ground, it's going to be in season. I think. I have summer scouted before, but it's never very fun in the heat and the humidity and late June, July, August to be in the woods.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've done it too. In fact, the first couple of years, I was like exclusively what I did almost just because that's when I had availability. But, I ended up getting out on northern Wisconsin that weekend that you were supposed to be down in Iowa. Found some really good things. I don't know if I mentioned it on here or not. I threw up a trail camera in a spot that last year in the property for anyone that's listened to the previous podcast that I've been trying to pour a lot of time into in the last couple of years. Because I've just like kind of put all my chips into this one region of northern Wisconsin right now, and just to see in the next 4 or 5 years if I can come up with anything. And I put up a trail camera on a logging road that's a little bit more wide open, not anything that I would like really anticipate. The only reason I put a trail camera there was because I there was a little pod dirt that was open early in September, and I'm like, hey, if there's something in here making sign early September, like it's had a couple breeding cycles underneath itself, so it's some sort of mature buck up here. So I threw a trail cam up, came back. Ironically, I don't think that ever actually ended up being a legit scrape just based off what the trail camera showed me. But what the trail camera did show me was I think starting November 3rd, every probably 4 days, 4 or 5 days, from November 3rd until I think the 29th, there was a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old using that logging road. And it was like a couple of them, especially on November 3rd, there was a pretty decent 8 pointer, definitely a 3-year-old. And then on the 29th of November, like which would have been like the last weekend of rifle season, in daylight, like 10 a.m., there was a spindlier, but a 10 pointer that had used that logging road. And I'm like, I would have never thought, and I'm looking back on it and I'm like, a couple of years ago, I was in a property just north of there. And I think I told you this. I was walking in on a logging road. It was the day before Halloween, and a nice 8 pointer just like cruised right past me. I couldn't get a shot because it was the brush was too thick. But like, I mean, he was on the logging road and then he just walked off of it and just kept going. And I'm always this guy that's like, oh, like they're not using these logging roads and stuff during daylight and stuff like that, like especially with hunter access and stuff. And they use them. I mean, they're there, especially the overgrown ones. So fast forward to that scouting mission that I just had. I found a really good. I checked out another cut that was about 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old, and I walked this whole perimeter of it, and it was one that I thought was too easy of an access for people, but I just haven't seen the bow. I see a lot of bird hunting pressure, but I haven't seen the bow hunting pressure, which I've said on here before. So I'm like, I'm just gonna plunge in there, even though I think it's easy access and like a little bit obvious. I'm just gonna check it out.
Sure.
And I found a ton of good sign. Found a really cool spot where a creek runs north and south, and it necks down where the beavers dammed this one part. The beavers dammed it right where the river or the creek all of a sudden goes up into like a really steep bank on both sides. like 20 to 30-foot drop, which not a lot of elevation where I'm hunting. So the deer, even without the dam there and creating the real deep pool of water, they're not crossing down and up. They have to neck down in this funnel. So it's just like a perfect little pinch point. Plus, all right. Well, we're gonna try and link this up with the first audio. Guys, apologize about that. I was having some technical difficulties, but as we were talking about, I hopped into this piece that I thought was a little too obvious at one point, but just lack of hunting pressure. I checked it out. There was a spot where the beaver had dammed an area where it was actually the perfect little pinch point. Anyways, they just made it better because it was a steep drop off on both sides of the creek bank that the deer weren't using. They had to kind of funnel down and around both sides on the hill to cross this creek crossing. And on the west side, what is about a probably 5, 6 year old clear cut. And then on the east side, it kind of goes out to, there's a younger clear cut and then eventually goes out to ag.
Sure.
And so what I saw though too was anytime you're near that water and there's a clear cut, a lot of times attracting a lot of beaver activity, and those beavers will do something kind of cool. I think I'd love to talk to a forester, an ecologist, or someone about this, but kind of keeps the edges of some of these clear cuts in like the perfect state of regeneration because they'll knock down these like saplings, so you have a lot of these grasses and forbs that will come up, or younger saplings and like aspen suckers, which the deer are just hammering, and you can see the deer droppings in the trails that go in there. And I had a situation where like 4 or 5 trails that funneled right down into that creek crossing, and there was a scrape, maybe a little bit bigger than a pie plate, but it was well dug out and the perfect licking branch, like right at the creek crossing. And I was like, gonna drop a camera here. Probably will hunt it as well. And then there was also another spot along that corridor where just loaded with like rubs, and one tree was just shredded from what seemed like a pretty nice buck. So a lot of encouraging sign up along that one edge. And when I worked my way around, it's interesting. It meets 4 different clear cuts. All of them are about the same age. A couple of them are a few years older than the other ones. So you have some that are like 3, 4 years old, some that are like in that 6, 8 years old, and one's like 10 to 12. And they all meet at this hub. There's 4 logging roads that meet, and there's an opening. And at first, it was something where I'm like, oh, this is too obvious. Like, why would they be like traveling these logging roads? Like they're going to be in the cover and stuff like that. But it's like, no, like a rutting buck, it makes sense for them to hop on these logging roads. Especially these are narrower. They have like more overhead cover, and it's more grown up grassy lanes. Essentially, they're not like legit like logging roads that people are walking down mostly. And they're in deep. I mean, I was in well over a mile in any direction to get back to this one, and two of these little logging roads were just tore up with rubs. I mean, every 20 feet there was rub here, rub there, broken branches here, and so I'm like, I just feel like in years past, I'm overlooking a lot of that stuff and being like, yeah, this is cool, but it's all nighttime sign. And it's like, is it though? So
Yeah.
I, I'm what I'm going to do is also one thing that little hub has working for it is it doesn't have any trees to get in. And so deer,
Yeah.
the only thing I'd be worried about is the bird hunters. And so I think a lot of those areas that are just like patchwork clear cuts, hold a lot of deer, but it's like, how do you hunt them? Well, you hunt them from the ground. So I have a little stool that I'm gonna bring in there, and I might just like brush out an area to sit in one of the clear cuts. And I have it where if we get a warm spell, a southeast wind, maybe for a couple days when I take my rutcation up there, I'm just gonna go perch in one of those. I'll use one of the logging roads that I don't think they're using as much as far as the rut travel goes, and then I'll just pop off of it and do like a little J hook into the very tip of this little X. And with a southeast wind, there's 3 of those other ones that I won't be touching with my intrusion, that I think if I give it like 2 full day sits there, given the sign that I've seen, and I know that the doe activity that it should be in there, when you hit November 6th, 7th, 8th, when they really start moving cross country, especially in those big woods areas, I could completely blank. But I do think that if you put a little bit of time in one of those spots, you could see something in daylight based off of what I've seen on trail cameras in the past and my own personal encounters.
Right.
So I am pretty excited about those 2 spots. Plus, the last spot was I follow Garrett Prawl, the DIY sportsman, quite a bit, and this is actually I took a page out off of his playbook where he does a lot of hunting around clear cuts where he hunts next to water or swamp where the roll off is too steep for them to get logging equipment out in these areas. So it creates these little open lanes of hardwoods that deer will run and travel for rut funnels and stuff because it's just open enough where they can travel in it and they're near security cover on both sides. Maybe it's a swamp on one side and a clear cut on the other side, but it's like a 40-yard wide lane that they can travel through in daylight and feel safe slipping through and scent check for does, but they feel safe doing so because they're close to security cover. He finds a lot of primary scrapes in those areas, rubs, scrapes, all sorts of sign. And so I found a spot like that where a different creek meets one of these other clear cuts that is a part of this system of clear cuts. And it's basically creek meets this young clear cut meets a like 30-year-old aspen stand. And right in the very bottom corner of it is like a little pie shaped cutout where they didn't, I don't know if they didn't log all of it off or not, but it's like this 50-yard by 30-yard little rectangular strip of hardwoods that they left, just a little bubble of it. And I got back into that. And the beavers were in on that side too. And they had also dammed up that. So it makes like an even harder edge where the water meets the clear cut. And when I got right back into there, it was a perfect creek crossing coming from a totally different part of the woods, a neck of the woods, up onto this spot. And then they were just funneling. And with a northwest wind, same thing. I found a beat down trail in the hardwoods. This just little opening, and then boom, right there, another big scrape. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this is sweet. So I have 3 spots now that I'm pretty jacked up about. And plus that one that I mentioned on the previous podcast where I found a rub line going down into an alder swamp. So I have some stuff that I'm working with that I feel good about. So
Well,
now
don't.
for me, it's about prep. And I think this summer for me, especially with like you're talking about being busy, my schedule is starting to fill up. So I'm trying to like just stack my time together. So I have a bachelor party in Green Bay, like I was saying earlier, in August. And so I got it okay by my wife to stay a couple extra days at my parents' house on my way back. And I have 2 days where I can get up to our cabin and put some trail cameras up. I'm gonna put some ground blinds in. I think at least like set up some like debris and deadfall and stuff and just like kind of brush myself in some places and get ready to go for me to get back in there in September.
Sure. That sounds
So
sweet. Yeah, those definitely sound like awesome spots. Definitely jealous. You keep making me jealous. And one of these days, I'm gonna get in the woods.
well, I mean, I've had the time, which has been beneficial, but I still have yet to connect on one up there. So yeah, but I guess other big development is my brother and I last weekend spent a little time down in the driftless part of Wisconsin, setting up some stands on an 80-acre farm that we're going to start hunting this year. That is family owned. My great uncle and great aunt have owned it my entire life, and my uncle passed here about 6 years ago now, and talked to my aunt about hunting it, and we got permission to go down and hunt that, and where we hunt it with there's a couple other people that hunt it, and one of my mom's cousins hunts it pretty good. He manages it and stuff, so he's got everything all set up the way he wants. So we're gonna go down do an early season hunt down there. Hopefully, just fill the freezer with some does, which there's plenty of down there. When we were setting up stands or in stand sites, we were putting a stand up next to a bean field, and we had 4 does just middle of the day, just like out in the beans, just munching away 2 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon. So where four does would be like what I see in a 3-day trip in northern Wisconsin. So it was a little bit different deer numbers.
I mentioned for the viewers and the listeners, Matt just said he has access to driftless. Would you say driftless country? Is that what you called it?
Yeah,
We'll
some of
say,
the
I'll
better
tell
known
him,
some.
I'll tell him it rhymes with Upalo Ounty. And this guy has Upalo Ounty access, and he's coming to hunt the Northwoods just for the love of the game, just to
Yeah.
grind, just just to bust his ass, and he
I
loves
don't.
it.
I'm a glutton. I'm a glutton for punishment, man. I know if roles were reversed, you'd probably put a good week in down in Buffalo County. But I don't know. I'm excited to hunt it. I'm a roamer though, so I love roaming around. I can't be confined just to 80 acres. And so I mean, but so I have a 4 day I have a 4 day hunt planned in early September there. Very good possibility that a deer will walk out that I'm more than happy to shoot. And so it's a real possibility that I could maybe get even a crack at a buck early in the season and I take out kind of like you were saying. And I moved to Minnesota. But so I got my options here in Minnesota too. I have some stuff that I'm looking at, but that's just kind of what we've been doing, and I'm excited to start hunting that with my brother, he's hunted it a lot more than I have in the past. He's shot his first deer off there. He's shot a few deer off that property in the past when he was younger on some youth hunts and stuff. So I'm excited to hunt it with them and my dad will be down there. So a little bit different of a vibe for early season than I've had in the past, but we're gonna spend about 4 days there, and then I have my rutcation stashed away. And I think if I can coax my wife into letting me sneak out a little bit if we do get up to her cabin. So that's kind of where my summer's at. I just got some arrows in, been building those up. But other than that, it's just been swinging a fly rod around the Twin Cities here, trying to get on. I got on some nice smallmouth last week, but
I don't know. That looks fun. I need to learn to cast a fly rod. I think I would enjoy that. Maybe I'll have to come with you sometime.
yeah, I mean, I just got into it a few years ago, and it's like one of those things. It's kind of like shooting your bow, like especially on those like nice cool summer nights when the sun's setting. It's like there's no real objective outside of just clearing your mind. You know,
Yeah,
like if you're just shooting out there to shoot, like you get it because I know you enjoy it too. But it's like I just like to practice the art of shooting a bow, just because it's relaxing. And that's kind of how it's slowly becoming with fly fishing for me too. I could go out and not catch a fish, and just the action of trying to fly cast and learning how to land a fly in the perfect spot because it's not just like traditional tackle where you can just huck that thing out there and there's techniques, you know, that people do and stuff with traditional tackle, but I'm learning about these different kinds of casting and how to load your rod properly and how to time your casts and stuff like that. And it's super fun. I clear my mind when I'm doing it because I'm so focused on the moment and it gets me out of the rat race for a little while. So yeah, that's been fun. But I kind of wanted to transition. Why don't you talk to the viewers a little bit about just the workouts that you've been killing lately and how you've been just rehabbing everything.
yeah, dude. I've been grinding. Not gonna lie, proud of myself for um getting momentum here and staying consistent. I don't remember the last day I haven't had 10,000 steps, for the viewers. I got the little watch on, counting my steps. But not only that, I work from home too, at office, or not an office, but at a desk, so 10,000 steps is not necessarily easy to obtain. But I get an hour lunch break, and usually I consume half an hour of that to the full hour of that, and have some sort of lunch ready that I can eat at my desk quick and get back to work. But I'll either walk, run, or ruck. If you don't know what rucking is, Matthew influenced me with rucking, by the way, but it's walking with weight, which is common in the military. I'm not that I wasn't in the military or anything, but these guys are walking around with 40 pounds in the back consistently, and it's a great exercise, and it's hard to argue that there's anything more beneficial to hunting than rucking, like especially the type of hunting that Matt and I are doing. What are you doing? You're carrying in a stand or a pack for sometimes miles, and
Mm,
what are you doing when you kill one? Well, you're dragging a deer or you're packing out a deer, like on my western hunts. It's weight on your back walking. I mean, you're doing what you do for hunting.
mhm,
So yeah, I mean, but ultimately my objective was, I gained weight after I broke my ankle and was sitting around for a year before I actually got it fixed. And now it's time to play catch up. But not only play catch up, I mean, as it is right now, I'm actually more active than I was before I broke my ankle. But when you sit around like that, you don't realize how thankful you should be for the ability to move. And sometimes you're just complacent, right? I should have, now that I had that period, it's easy to reflect and be like, oh, I could have been doing all of this and I wasn't. but now I
Mhm.
am very thankful that my ankle's feeling 100%. There was a moment kind of in that middle of the period where I didn't know I needed surgery, where I didn't think I was ever going to run again. I was like, well, walking and stuff is fine. Like I went to South Dakota last year and killed a nice buck. So I was fine walking, but I would always have pain in my ankle. So now to be like actually running, and again, I'm not like your wife Madeline running marathons. Props to her for that. Maybe someday if I keep this up, maybe I'll go. Maybe I'll
Yeah,
go to the
heck
booth.
yeah.
I don't think that's my jam, but I wouldn't necessarily rule it out. But like my lunch hour today, I ran a 5K, which is I'm not a runner. I want to be clear to the listeners and viewers. I'm not a runner. So for somebody who says they're not a runner to run a 5K, I think that's impressive. I'm proud of myself for that. But not only that, like I said, I'm trying to make up for lost time and trying to lose some weight for sitting around for a year. But I'm really trying to establish this as more of a lifestyle. Because I want to hunting for myself. And I want to take my kids on a hunting trip, and I want to be healthy for my kids, healthy for my wife, and just hopefully live a long, happy life. So it's hard to dispute that working out is bad for you in any way. So all good things. So trying to stick with that and just really sear it into me as something that's not negotiable. It's part of my life because it's only gonna or keep me going. So super pumped about that. I think come October, when my wife's work schedule slows down, I'll kind of peel off of cardio a little bit and turn more to the weights. After I've lost a little bit of weight myself, maybe try to put muscle on. I was going to the gym, but when her work schedule gets busy and the kids and stuff, it's hard to go to the gym really late and then wake up at a reasonable time to do my work and get my kids to daycare and whatnot. Um,
Mhm.
but when she slows down, I could probably get to the gym earlier. But I won't bore you guys with that stuff. But yeah, super pumped about that. Super proud of myself. So I guess in a way, we were talking about prep for hunting season. That's one way I have been prepping. I feel like this year I'm going to be able to go a hell of a lot farther than I was last year, and even maybe even 3 years ago, because I'm in better physical condition. I can just handle more. So, and yeah, I know you do a lot of training and stuff. Even when you're scouting, you just have like unnecessary weight on you, don't you? Just to kind of prep you for it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I will. All depends on what I'm doing for miles, but yeah, it's just it's good. It's good life. Like you said, you nailed it on the head. It's good lifestyle training, or just lifestyle habits. I will say, like, I work like a 10-hour shift type work, and so I either have to do it early in the morning or later at night after I don't have kids, but we get the dogs out on a nice walk and make
Right.
dinner and whatnot. So it's like I I don't have a ton of meat on the bones either in the morning or in the evening some nights, and so it's just been like it doesn't have to be pretty. I'm just getting up consistently and doing workout before work. Early, a lot of times that's pretty early. I mean, tomorrow morning that 4:30 alarm is gonna come early, but getting up and just moving my body and being thankful that I have a body to move. Like you said, like I had a hip surgery a few years ago that changed my perspective on everything. Also changed the way that I move my body because I don't have any cartilage in my left hip anymore. So I have to be smart about the way I move. That's why I adopted rucking. I know you and I are both Michael Easter disciples now. So if
Yeah.
anyone's not either read The Comfort Crisis, otherwise he just put out his new book Walking with Weight that I just went
Oh,
through a couple months ago. It's a great audiobook, great read, but that kind of breaks down the rucking and stuff too. So I'm either doing some sort of rucking or free weight kettlebell stuff. But it's just I will say this: once I started getting into it and building that routine consistently of getting up and working out, when I went 6 days in a row last year during the rut, and I was on day 4 of waking up at 3:30 in the morning, and I would get home from these hunts, and the nice thing about November is it gets dark at 5:30, 6 o'clock. So I get back to my cabin, I'd make a dinner, I'd call my wife, maybe read a book for a half an hour, and then I was out at like 8 o'clock every night, and it's like I was getting up at 3 o'clock, but that was doable because my body was kind of adjusted to that schedule already. So it's like, and for my body to get up and then go, hey, you have to walk another 2.5 miles to your stand, you could do it. It still sucks, like you said, you're not a runner. I'm not naturally an Iron Man. You know what I mean? I'm not anyone crazy either. But your mind's already done it and it's been adjusted to it. So it's a good habit. So you've been sending me updates and stuff, and I'm just like I'm loving it. You're killing it, and I can't wait. To keep following along, and we're gonna have to get the listeners, keep in. in tune to your progress here the next couple months.
Hey, appreciate it, buddy.
So, Tyler, anything else that you have as far as updates go? Plans going forward? I think we're gonna start rolling out some actual guests here, so you don't have everyone doesn't have to listen to us just babble on here soon. We should have some guests on, but anything else?
No, dude. I've had 3 beers since we started talking. Including off there, and that technical difficulty we had did give me a quick bathroom break, but I'm gonna need number 2 here soon. So I'm ready to wrap this up.
All right, sounds good. That is a perfect place to end. Guys, as always, we thank you so much for tagging along on us. We're just getting started with this whole thing. Look at hopefully getting more consistent here with it down the road and get some guests on and start talking about some big woods deer here shortly. So, Tyler, we will talk to you soon, and we'll catch you everyone on the next one.
I appreciate you, buddy. Thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks for listening to the show. This is Clear Cut Chronicles, and we'll catch you on the next one.